All right, and we're back. I thought I was insane when I said I could get this done by the end of May, and I was going to make that correction in the original script, but here we are. Act 2 is completed, and it's only May 26th as of recording this. So I may just sneak this by, if I can. Oh yeah, introductions. It's me again, Devoted 221, I think. That guy who is 100%ing Baldur's Gate, or at least doing it as close as possible in a single run of the game. Starting off with obviously trying to do everything in honor mode. So to look into some of the stats for this video before even like jumping straight into it is Act 1, I had about 20 hours into the save file with approximately 16 hours of playtime across my 9 previously failed attempts, most of those being the Nautiloid. Now, as of Act 2, I have 41 hours in this current save file. That is a total of a totally like light and breezy 57 hours dedicated to this project, not even counting all the editing that I do outside of this. Just gonna like put a little plug there. If that doesn't deserve a sub, I don't know what does. I mean, maybe like 100%ing the game like I said I was gonna do. No, definitely not. Anyways, when I started this run, I said I was going to do 100% of the achievements. And I was going to show you them act by act. Well, I kind of technically lied, and I need to start this whole video off by correcting myself, which I know it's a little crazy that someone on the internet is like saying that they're wrong and then also simultaneously like correcting themselves. Usually never happens. It's crazy. So Act 1 technically doesn't end where I ended Act 1 in the video. The Temple of Lathander and the Githyanki Creche and the Adamantine Forge are all technically actually still a part of Act 1. Act 2 doesn't actually happen until you get to the Shadowlands. However, I have always found that the Githyanki Creche, the Temple of Lathander, and the Adamantine Forge are so removed from Act 1, they're almost like an Act 1.5. And that's why I've put them in the Act 2 video and counted them as Act 2. With all that prelude being taken care of, let's hop into Act 2. Alright, so the first thing we do is we explore a little bit of the Adamantine Forge. We clear out some devils that were hanging out, and we end up just completely wiping them out fairly quickly. They're not actually that hard of an encounter. The next thing I actually do is I really quickly hop over to the Temple of Lathander, since I really want the Blood of Lathander. It's an amazing legendary weapon that is supremely useful for the entire rest of the game, but especially the rest of Act 2, including the Adamantine Forge. We take on all these big eagles, and we end up grabbing one of the ceremonial weapons, which are required to progress the Temple of Lathander. The rest of the fights within the temple are pretty underwhelming. We blow up some kobolds with a bunch of fire. We kill a group of really weird magical cats. We then finally meet what I'm going to pronounce as Cry Wargaz, the Githyanki Inquisitor. And his fight is pretty dicey. He summons a bunch of magical weapons every time we attack. They're like psychic spiritual weapons. So we have to focus on taking him out first. Once he dies, the fight actually goes really well. It's not too hard. The Githyanki warriors are not very strong outside of their Inquisitor. Vlaakith then has a little bit of a tantrum, so I make sure to piss Vlaakith off, but not so much that she smites us where we stand, because that can end the run. After cleaning up the Githyanki, I go and get a new shiny. I move on to help the Durgar, and they ask me to take out the Scrying Eye, but when I do, they all immediately turn hostile. We take them out, and this person actually ends up hiding in a wall, which Larian should know, walls are solid. With a lot of messing around under our belt, we actually end up making a new friend to help us with the upcoming boss. Now in comes Grim, the Guardian of the Forge. And here's the thing, normally we could face Grim by putting him in the center of the arena and using the Forge Hammer to crush him into oblivion. Except there's an achievement to literally not do that. So we have to find another way to crush Grim. There's a special thing where if you use a twice enlarged owlbear, you can actually deal like 1,000 damage to Grim, and we totally mess it up. So we basically have to destroy Grim the normal way instead of cheesing it. A lot of hit points later, our new companion actually dies, but we do end up killing Grim, so, you know, who cares about this random hireling that we just got? Grim's dead! Yay! We now move on to the Cursed Shadowlands, and the first thing we do is kill Carnis, the Drider. The Drider's legendary action is to deal psychic damage to a character when they kill an enemy. Since Carnis only gets one legendary action per turn, the most efficient way to deal with this is to kill multiple enemies in a single turn. We eventually gang up on the Drider and use our superior action economy to take him out and get the Moon Lantern, allowing us to freely travel anywhere in the Shadowlands. Our next achievement-related fight is the Toll Collector, which we have to kill her without her using any gold against us. Thankfully, we're able to actually just persuade her into blowing herself up, and we still get the achievement, so we just do that. Next up, we actually move on to the Surgeon, and the strategy here is to convince the nurses to fight themselves so the Surgeon cannot use their special ability on us, which is also an achievement. However, I actually do this fight a little too well, and I actually get the Surgeon to kill himself as well. So this achievement is something I'm going to have to do on the cleanup run. The next couple of fights aren't really achievement related, but they're useful for XP, magic item, and just Completionist. We basically have to drink Kethrick's brother under the table unless we want to fight him. So we do that. We completely obliterate him in drinking. We also fight this massive shadow-cursed shambling mound, which is another legendary fight that we decimate, pretty much. The next thing I do is accidentally stumble into the Githyank key and get very close to dying. Luckily, my hoard of spell scrolls makes this fight a little bit easier. Next up is the Gauntlet of Shar, which we have a few main goals here. We have to free the Night Song, we have to kill Balthasar before we go into the Shadowfell, and then finally we have to slay the devil for Raphael. We're going to actually use Baromancy to obliterate both Balthasar and Yorgrir. Oh yeah, and then there's like this guy who's made of rats. I don't know, I kind of lost the script here. He glitches out and he gets the meta version of Blur. So, you know, that was interesting, to say the least, I guess. I don't know. I was in a haze for this fight. Now, for the single worst moment of the series. I look up a lot of the encounters for this playthrough, but try to experience the actual story through what I vaguely remember choosing to do on my one and only playthrough of this game when it first came out. And what I want to do in the moment. Basically, unless it's achievement related, I'm going through the game kind of blindly and normally. So I tried to talk Shadowheart out of killing the Night Song, since Night Song's a very important part of the Kethwick and Merkel fight. And I ended up choosing the option that makes her immediately hostile, and not knowing if telling her I wouldn't fight her would actually end up causing her to kill Night Song, I made the very hard choice and fought Shadowheart. Annoyingly, in my first run, I did actually save her and Night Song, and I couldn't remember what options I chose, so I just went with the flow, and looks like I suffered for it. Now we finally do the assault on Moonrise Towers. The fight goes really well. A nicely placed Firewall and Cloud Kill basically does all the damage per round we need, while we throw low-leveled spells to clean up all the enemies that aren't caught within it, or the ones that have a little bit more health. I did actually want to explore the towers a little bit more, but I ended up clicking on the door that goes right to the top floor, and ended up shunting myself there. Whoopsies. So now it's time to fight J. Jonah Jameson, and he actually ends up fleeing below to a Mind Flayer column.
You must return to your prison, and my daughter must be reclaimed.
Your daughter? Isabel.
You will fall as sure as she. edict.
The lash of Thor!
The testament of Merkel.
An elder brain.
Round 2 against Omni-Man goes very well. My biggest goal was to actually slay the Mind Flayer and as many Necromites as possible before initiating the Merkel fight. So I've read that the Merkel fight is a big run ender for Honor Mode. Thankfully, my first try actually doing it on Honor Mode, it wasn't. However, we came very close. We did not get the achievement here, and I've actually gotten it before, so I'm not too concerned about it. But to really rub salt into that wound, the stupid Necromites healed the Apostle about 4 times throughout the entire fight, and we came down to single-digit hit points, and especially having our Tav use multiple revives since they're both a half-orc and Shadow Sorcerer. Well, we're officially down Shadowheart, we've pissed off 2 gods, and we've slain the avatar of another one. Time to go to Baldur's Gate! If you gotten this far, thank you so much. The support on the last video was incredible, and I'm so thankful that this project's actually going a lot better than I expected. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the 3rd video and the final review video where I talk about my extended thoughts about Baldur's Gate 3. Again, thank you so much for watching. Peace.